The hunting horn is incredibly underrated because people hear support weapon and come to the wrong conclusions. But the hunting horn's job is not to support the team. Its job is to smash the monster in the face and use melodies to smash harder and more often. If you happen to have a hunting party, they're welcome to join in, but you can absolutely solo the game with the hunting horn. If you want to learn how to do this, you're in the right place. This guide is for both new and old players. I'm going to cover everything from moves and melodies to weapon theory and advanced techniques. Precise inputs are very important when playing the hunting horn, so to make this easier to learn, I'm going to show the combos and my inputs over the gameplay footage. I'm using a universal input system, so you can follow along with any controller. The hunting horn's playstyle is not what most people expect from a weapon that can buff the entire hunting party. Support archetypes in games often focus their time and resources into boosting the effectiveness of their teammates, but that's not how the hunting horn plays. The hunting horn is a musical instrument, and its buffs come in the form of melodies. What sets hunting horn apart from standard support archetypes is that melodies have a lot of range and last a really long time. This lets you focus on dealing damage instead of managing buffs. What sets the hunting horn apart from other damage dealers is its highly mobile playstyle, enabled by the melody Self-Improvement. This is a self-buff that greatly boosts your movement speed, letting you position very aggressively while attacking your preferred weak spot, the head. The hunting horn deals blunt damage that can stun a monster if you keep hitting its head. It also has good reach and high damage to punish even the smallest of openings. The hunting horn wants to get in quickly, smash the monster in the face, reposition, and do it again. Before we cover our basic attacks, let's talk about the melody list and the musical staff. Each hunting horn is special and comes with its own unique list of melodies. Because of this, all hunting horns are equal, but some are more equal than others. A horn's list of melodies determines what melodies you can use and how those melodies are played. Basic attacks tied to your top face and right face buttons, stock notes on your musical staff, and stocking notes in the right order cues a melody. Completed melodies are added to your melody cue, next to your musical staff, with the newest melody being added to the top. You can cue up to 3 melodies at a time. If you keep queuing more melodies, the newest melody will push out the oldest melody. Once they're queued, you can play your melodies with a performance attack by pressing the right trigger. It's important to always know your horn's melodies, which is why I highly recommend changing your game settings so you can see your melodies at all times. Go into your menu, go to Systems, Options, and under Game Settings, change Hunting Horn Button Guide Settings to display melody effects. Now you can see your melodies even when your weapon is sheathed. As you can probably guess, quickly stocking notes in the correct order is a very important skill for hunting horn players. The musical staff helps you do this by keeping track of your notes and giving you hints on what notes you can add next if you're about to complete a melody. The staff also lets you chain multiple melodies together if they share notes between them. Here's a quick example. I'm going to break down each attack, but before we dive into the details, you need to understand something. Your list of melodies is not your combo tree. After you've played your melodies, they're going to last for several minutes. Since you don't need to play them that often, you want to prioritize the best attack for each opening, not just attacks that keep queuing more melodies. Melodies are composed with 3 different notes. Note 1 is stocked by pressing the top face button, Note 2 by pressing the right face button, and Note 3 by pressing the top and right face buttons at the same time. Notes can come in different colors that represent the vibes of the horn's melodies, but you don't need to understand the colors to play the weapon. Precise inputs are very important for hunting horn players, because your attacks can change if you're holding a direction with your left stick. For Note 1, if you're standing still and press the top face button, you perform a left swing. However, if you're holding a direction with your left stick, you perform a forward smash. Hunting horn attacks cannot combo back into themselves, so if you keep pressing the top face button, you'll alternate between left swing and forward smash, even if you aren't using your left stick. The forward smash has good reach, hits high, and moves you forward. It also has decent speed and damage, but a noticeable recovery animation. This is the first of many moves that you will want to roll out of to cancel the recovery animation. Roll canceling immediately with the bottom face button will always be faster than waiting for the animation to finish. Keep in mind, you may want to delay your roll to dodge an attack. You can also combo into another attack to cancel out of the recovery animation. The forward smash is a draw attack, which means you can use it even when your weapon is sheathed. This stocks a note 1 on your musical staff, which can be good, but can also ruin a melody you were queuing up. If you don't want to stock a note 1, you can stand in place and press the top face button to draw your weapon without attacking. The left swing hits low on your left, high on your right, and even a little behind you. It's fast, but has the lowest damage of all your normal attacks. The left swing is not used very much, since it's competing with the right swing and the roll cancel neutral performance, which both deal more damage at about the same speed. If you're following along in-game, stocking 2 note 1s should have queued a self-improvement melody. Go ahead and press the right trigger to play the melody with a performance and activate the speed boost. Use stock note 2 by pressing the right face button. If you're standing still, you'll perform a right swing. If you're holding a direction with your left stick, you'll perform a flourish. The right swing is one of Hunting Horn's most used moves. It hits low on your right, high on your left, and even a little behind you. Compared to the left swing, the right swing is a little faster, hits a little higher, and deals a little more damage. You'll use the right swing all the time because it's one of your fastest basic attacks, and it has good reach, making it perfect for small openings. To make the most out of the right swing, you need to use clever positioning. If you just swing at the monster head on, you're likely going to clip its forelegs or its neck and miss the head. However, we can mitigate this with positioning. First, you can stick to the right side of the monster, so you have a cleaner shot at the head as you swing from right to left. Second, you can face away from the monster and hit it with the backswing. Be sure to experiment with the right swing and get very familiar with it. The Flourish has 2 swings and stocks a single note 2 by default, but it will also let you stock a second note of your choosing if you input that note during the second swing. This second note can be note 1, 2, or 3. The Flourish is much faster than playing a second note the normal way, and is a great shortcut for quickly queuing melodies. You can also cancel the second hit of the Flourish by rolling instead of inputting a second note. The timing is a little tight, so be sure to practice. The Flourish Cancel is the fastest move you can perform from neutral, but it's pretty weak since more than half the damage is tied up in the second hit. The full Flourish deals good damage if both hits land, but landing both hits on a weak spot can be tricky because they swing at different angles. You often have to stand very close to the monster to get both hits to land on the same spot. Use the full Flourish when you're trying to stock notes quickly and try to land both hits, or use the Flourish Cancel as a quick poke. Use stock note 3 by pressing the top and right face buttons at the same time. If you're standing still, you'll perform a backward strike. If you're holding a direction with your left stick, you'll perform an overhead smash. The backward strike is tricky to use, but incredibly rewarding to master. Its standout features are its amazing range and solid damage. This is your second hardest hitting normal attack. The strike starts low on your right and ends up way behind you as you move backward. What makes this move really flexible is that you can turn any direction you want before using it. A perfect example of this is what the Hunting Horn community calls Q-tabs, or quick turnaround backslam. Q-tabs is a technique where you 180 before using the backward strike to throw the attack out in front of you. Not only is it very effective, it's also very easy to learn. Walk forward, flick the left stick in the opposite direction of where you want to attack. Let go of the stick and input the backward strike. It does take a bit of practice to get the timing down, but once you've mastered Q-tabs, you can do this in any direction, which lets you retreat, advance, or reposition while dealing really good damage. The overhead smash is easy to use and hits very hard, making it your main move for openings long enough to squeeze one in. The second hit by itself is your hardest hitting normal attack. This hit also has a special property that lets it damage the head even if it connects with another body part first. Nowhere is safe for the monster's head if it's in range of the overhead smash. Like the forward smash, canceling the animation of the overhead smash with a roll is faster than waiting for the animation to finish. Of course, you can delay your roll if you're dodging an attack. The Hilt stab has low range and low damage, but its primary use is quickly stocking notes. A Hilt stab can be used to perform note 1, 2, or 3, but can only be used after another attack. You perform a hilt stab by holding back on the left stick and playing the note of your choice. Don't worry about accidentally turning around. You actually can't, because you're locked into a direction once you start your first attack. This is a blessing and a curse, because it makes it easier to perform directional inputs, but makes it more difficult to adjust your positioning mid-combo. If you're using the default controls, backward is relative to the camera, so if I'm facing the camera, backward is actually up on the left stick. To make this more consistent to perform, some hunting horn players change their directional control type to type 2. This makes directional inputs relative to the character, so down on the left stick will always be backward. One more note about the hilt stab is that it deals sever damage, meaning it can't stun, but can cut tails if you're insane enough. Not the good insane, the bad insane. If you attack while climbing up a ledge, you can draw into a forward smash while stocking note 1. However, if your weapon is already drawn, you can stock note 1, 2, or 3, similar to the hilt stab. It is still a forward smash, so you still want to roll cancel that recovery animation. Aerial attacks deal mounting damage and trigger a mount once you deal enough. You can perform aerial attacks while jumping from ledges or sliding down hills. You can jump from a ledge by rolling off of it, and while in the air you can perform a jumping smash. If your weapon is sheathed, you can only use the top face button and the jumping smash will stock a note 1. If your weapon is unsheathed, you can stock a note 1, 2, or 3 with the proper buttons. If you're sliding down a hill, you can perform a jumping strong overhead smash with the top face button. This attack can only stock note 1 because you can't slide with your hunting horn unsheathed. Both attacks have long recovery animations that you will want to roll cancel. You can also use a performance midair, but it's slow, deals no mounting damage, and only plays melodies after you land. Try to avoid using it. You can play your queued melodies by pressing the right trigger. Melodies will play one at a time, and you'll flash with a white aura as each melody is played. You can save some of your melodies for later by interrupting your performance with a roll cancel or an encore. The timing for these inputs is after the white aura flash of a melody being played. Each hunting horn has its own list of melodies, making hunting horn very versatile when compared to other melee weapons. Melodies can have a lot of effects, but most of them buff you and your entire hunting party. There are some exceptions that I will cover in the next section. Melodies can last for several minutes, but take a bit of time to play, so you want to pre-buff before engaging the monster. You can tell if your party members are in range to benefit from your melodies if they have this horn icon by their name. Most melodies have 2 levels. Receiving the melody once gives you level 1, and receiving it again while still under the effects of the level 1 buff gives you level 2. Your active melodies will change color in your list of melodies. Green indicates level 1, and purple indicates level 2. You'll also get a notification when you receive level 1 of a melody, but not for level 2. Level 2 strengthens the effects of most melodies, increases their durations, and increases their duration caps. A duration cap is the maximum amount of time your melody will last without being maintained. You can maintain a level 2 melody by replaying it. This partially restores its duration, but you can't exceed the duration cap. Overplaying a melody does nothing for its duration. You want the duration to degrade a bit before replaying the melody. Level 2 buffs will never downgrade to level 1, but if your melody's duration runs out, you'll have to start all over again from level 1. Because of this, Horn Maestro is a must-have skill on all hunting horn builds. This 2-point skill greatly increases the duration of melodies and increases their duration caps. Having Horn Maestro lets you focus on fighting rather than scrambling to maintain melodies. Every hunting horn has the melody self-improvement, which is an essential part of your toolkit. Unlike most of your other melodies, self-improvement only buffs the hunting horn user. Level 1 of self-improvement increases your walking speed while your weapon is drawn. This is a game where you have to sheath your weapon to run. Being able to use your full moveset while power jogging is very strong. You can avoid many attacks just by walking and quickly close distance without having to sheath your weapon. Level 2 of self-improvement prevents your attacks from being deflected and gives you a 15% boost to attack. Self-improvement is so good it's mandatory. You should maintain both levels at all times. Some melodies have no levels and have an instant effect instead. For example, Health Recovery gives an instant heal to everyone within range, but before you get any ideas, the heal is too slow and not high enough to make pure support horns strong. All Melody Effects Extended also has no levels and does exactly what it says it does. It extends the duration of all melodies on everyone within range. These extended melodies can be yours, another hunting horn player's, or even your palico's. Echo bubbles create bubbles that give a short buff to anyone who walks through them. Each bubble has a limited number of uses that depends on the bubble's melody, and passing through the bubble again refreshes the buff. Some melodies don't buff at all. Sonic Waves is a screamer pod on a stick that interrupts and traps burrowing monsters. Impact Echo Wave and Echo Wave Dragon deal bursts of damage during your performance in Encore. The Performance is a high damage attack that plays your cued melodies one by one. The Encore is a follow-up attack to the Performance that replays all the melodies you played during the performance at the same time. You can use the Performance at any time by pressing the right trigger. This will play your cued melodies from top to bottom and clear your musical staff. If you want to play one of your other melodies first, you can press the right trigger plus the top face button, or the right trigger plus the right face button. This will play your second or third melody before playing your other melodies from top to bottom. Fun fact, this changes the song you hear your hunting horn play. Pressing the right trigger during a performance will cause you to perform an encore. Since encores replay all the melodies you played during the performance, you can stack 2 levels of multiple melodies very quickly. Just like roll cancels, the proper timing for an encore is right after the white flash you see when a melody is played. You won't always have enough time to encore a performance, so you may want to queue up duplicate melodies to play in one performance, or to play in 2 separate performances. As previously mentioned, if you want to save some of your melodies for later, you can encore or roll cancel your performance before you play them. You'll want to roll cancel just about all of your performances and encores to avoid their long ending animations. In addition to roll canceling after a melody is played, you can roll cancel immediately after the attack. If you roll cancel immediately after the attack, the melody is consumed but does not get played. If you get interrupted during a performance, your melody is not consumed. There's no safety net for encores though. During a performance or encore, you can use the left stick to slightly adjust your position and the direction you're facing. More on that later. Performances and encores hit very hard and blast out a shockwave when you have a melody cued. These shockwaves count as separate hits that are not part of the swings. That means your swing and shockwave can hit different parts of the monster. You want to aim your attack so both hits land on a weak spot. Shockwaves consume no sharpness, but don't scale with sharpness modifiers, and cannot crit. Just like your notes, your performance attacks are affected by the direction you input with your left stick. This next section is really important because some directions are just better than others. A performance with no direction is the neutral performance, a fast left to right swing that deals high damage and stun. The roll cancelled neutral performance is regularly used in place of the left swing. Unlike the left swing, you can use the neutral performance as a draw attack. Even if your weapon is sheathed, you can draw attack with the neutral performance into any of your cued melodies. This lets you quickly play or remove specific melodies from your queue. If you use a neutral performance after Hilt stab, you'll do a quick performance, your fastest performance option. Since it requires 3 separate attacks, you won't always be able to set this up, but it's great for getting a melody out quickly when you're pre-buffing or attacking a downed monster. The forward performance is done by holding forward on the left stick and pressing the right trigger when your weapon is drawn. If your weapon is sheathed, you'll get a neutral performance. The forward performance is very slow unless you combo it out of a forward smash or an overhead smash. This combo also works on your aerial attacks and is much better than the mid-air performance. If you're not comboing into your forward performance, you should use a neutral performance instead. The left, right, and backward performances can only be used after another attack, because all directions are forward until you start attacking. You can use these performances to reposition, but they're too slow for general use when compared to our other options. As a quick summary, your best performances are your neutral performance, your quick performance, and your comboed forward performance. You should avoid the left, right, and backward performances. Directional encores work the same way performances do, but the good ones are different. The left encore is your fastest encore and should be used when speed is your priority. The neutral encore is your second fastest encore and should be used if you want to stay in the same spot. The right encore is slower than the left and neutral Encores, so it's not used very often. The forward and backward Encores are your slowest Encores, but do the most damage and are used for long openings. If the first melody you played in your performance was a 2-note melody, like Self-Improvement or Echo Melodies, you'll perform a faster encore that has one less swing than the regular encore. Fast encores are used when you want to buff quickly or have a short window of safety. In this clip, I'm pre-buffing and play Self-Improvement first to get a fast encore. Performance and Encore used to be Hunting Horn's biggest damage options for long openings, but in Iceborne, Echo Attacks and Echo Waves have replaced them in most of these situations. Performances and Encores are still used to play and maintain melodies, but Echo Attacks deal a lot of damage for a lot less setup. You can use an Echo Attack after another attack by pressing the left trigger. An Echo Attack has 2 parts, a Hilt stab that deals sever damage, and a spin that deals 4 hits of blunt damage. You can slightly change the direction you're facing when inputting the Echo Attack, and you can roll cancel after the initial stab if you need to reposition. The right swing and the overhead smash are the preferred combo starters for the Echo Attack. You can also use a forward smash if your weapon is sheathed. For long openings like knockdowns, you can combo your Echo Attack into a Hilt stab into another Echo Attack. An Echo Attack stocks an Echo mark on your musical staff, which is used for Echo Melodies. Echo Melodies are always an Echo mark, followed by a Note 2 or Note 3. Using Hilt stabs between Echo Attacks can quickly cue Echo Melodies during an opening. If you don't want to cue an Echo Melody, you can stock a Note 1 to interrupt the melody, or use a performance to clear your musical staff. Impact Echo Wave and Echo Wave Dragon are Echo Melodies that blast damaging shockwaves from your horn. Echo Wave combos require a bit more setup and commitment than Echo Attack combos, but have the potential to deal more damage and stun. Both types of Echo Waves are not affected by sharpness modifiers and cannot crit, however they do benefit from stacking raw damage. Impact Echo Wave deals high part break and stun, but doesn't inflict any elemental damage. Echo Wave Dragon has low part break and stun, but deals large bursts of dragon element. Which Echo Wave is better depends on the situation. Impact Echo Wave is great for knocking out a monster, while Echo Wave Dragon is really strong against monsters that are weak to the dragon element. Landing the shockwaves on a weak point can be a little tricky when the hunting horn is behind you during a neutral performance. You can turn all the way around with the left stick, but if you want to face forward while still landing the waves, here's what you can do. By holding forward on the left stick, you can walk forward and swing the hunting horn from behind you to your right side as you take a big step forward. Moving the tip of the horn to your side is exactly what you want, since the source of the shockwave is closer to your target. However, if you keep holding forward, your horn starts to move too much. To work around this, you need to let go of the left stick to reset your movement and then hold forward again to repeat the big step forward. If you time this with your Echo Wave being played, you can easily land them on your target. If a monster's asleep, the next hit of damage it takes will deal double damage. Because of this, you want to use one big instance of damage to wake up the monster. The hunting horn has 2 main options for big wake-up hits. Your first option is the second hit of the overhead smash. You need to intentionally miss the first hit and only land the second hit. This requires a bit of practice and spacing. If you don't feel you can do this, option 1.5 is to use the backward strike. Your second option is an encore of 3 Echo Waves. Since the encore replays all of your melodies at once, the Echo Waves get combined into a single blast. Be sure not to mix Impact Echo Wave and Echo Wave Dragon, or you'll get 2 separate hits. Use one or the other. Once your melodies are cued, intentionally miss your performance, adjust your angle, forward encore next to the target, and then adjust your angle a final time to land the wake up. If you're not mid-combo, you can clutch onto a monster by holding the left trigger and pressing the right face button to fire your claw. Once you're on the monster, you can wound it with a weapon attack, rotate it with claw attacks, or slam it into a wall with a flint shot. The weapon attack launches you away from the monster and does not stock any notes. It also draws your weapon and has a long recovery animation that should be roll cancelled. If you deal enough damage to a monster, it'll reel back and drool. The community calls this a claw stagger, or Clagger for short. Claggers are designed to give you an opportunity to safely clutch onto the monster and wound them with the weapon attack. Clutching on during a Clagger extends the duration of the Clagger animation, so you will always have enough time to finish a weapon attack. However, if you don't need to wound a monster, you can actually clutch on, drop off, and start attacking while the monster is locked in place by the extended Clagger animation. This gives you enough time for a performance and maybe an encore if you want to push your luck. If you don't have a melody queued, you can use a forward smash and follow it up with an echo attack. If you want to learn more about the Clutch Claw and why it's so important for damage, I have a full video on it and the link is in the description. As a blunt weapon, the Hunting Horn can deal stun and exhaust status. Stun is a powerful status that only builds up if you're hitting the monster's head. Once you reach the stun threshold, the monster becomes stunned and topples. The stun status has some limitations. You can't build up more stun until the monster recovers, and after recovering, the monster's stun threshold increases, making it more difficult to stun the monster again. Exhaust status works on all parts of the body and has a different effect. As a monster attacks, it uses stamina and gradually becomes exhausted. Exhaust status drains a monster's stamina, exhausting them faster. Once exhausted, monsters have very limited movesets and slower attacks. Oftentimes, they'll stand completely still as they try to recover their stamina. Both stun and exhaust are fantastic for getting more openings for yourself and your hunting party. Your dodge roll is your only defensive option, and you want to roll cancel the recovery animations on a lot of your moves, so here's a quick rundown on the mechanics and fundamentals of the dodge roll. When performing a dodge roll, you become temporarily invincible at the start of the animation. At 60 frames per second, you're invincible for 13 frames, roughly 0.22 seconds. You can extend this duration with skills like Evade Window or equipment like the Evasion Mantle. After those invincibility frames pass, you're vulnerable again and will get hit by any active hitboxes you're still in contact with. A hitbox is the part of the attack that deals damage. You need to do two things to dodge roll properly. You want to be invincible while in contact with a hitbox, and you want to no longer be in contact with that hitbox by the time your invincibility runs out. From there, we get our two fundamentals of dodge rolling. Roll through fast hitboxes, and roll away from lingering hitboxes. Rolling through a fast hitbox increases the likelihood that you're no longer in contact with the hitbox when your invincibility runs out. However, you can't really do this with big attacks with lingering hitboxes. To avoid a lingering hitbox, you either need to move out of it before your invincibility ends, or use the mobility of the roll to never be in the hitbox to begin with. Mastering the dodge roll will open up a lot of opportunities for you, so be sure to practice. This is going to sound complex, but I promise it's easy to learn and very rewarding for Hunting Horn players. We just talked about how important rolling is for Hunting Horn, but did you know rolling also has a recovery animation? At the end of your roll, you readjust your weapon on your shoulder and can't attack. A Stutter Cancel cancels this recovery animation, letting you attack immediately out of a roll. It also lets you change the direction you're facing for more control over your attacks. To perform a Stutter Cancel, roll and make sure to let go of the left stick. As the roll is ending, input the direction you want to face with the left stick, and that's it. If you want to use an attack that requires no directional input like the right swing, simply let go of the left stick again before pressing the attack button. While it seems small, a Stutter Cancel can be the difference between safely landing an attack or getting hit. Be aware, this only works on the forward and side rolls and does not work on the backward roll. The Hunting Horn is not a traditional combo weapon. Don't focus too hard on melodies, instead try to pick the best attack for each opening. For small openings, this is often the right swing, roll cancelled neutral performance, overhead smash, and backward strike. For longer openings, you want to use echo attacks for damage or performance and encore to maintain melodies. Echo attacks and echo waves are your biggest damage options, but until you have an opening, stay mobile and use good positioning to attack the monster's head. The only must-have skill on Hunting Horn is Horn Maestro. Evade Window isn't mandatory, but it can make it much easier to dodge attacks. The Evasion Mantle does this as well, and gives you a 30% attack boost for 20 seconds after dodging an attack. Let's move on to some builds. This first build is a bare bones poverty set to get you started once you hit Master Rank. This set comes with 90% affinity and crit boost 3. The Gamma Chorus is an amazing early horn for Master Rank with a really good melody list. It comes with attack up large and defense up large for 20% more attack and defense for your entire hunting party. It also comes with Impact Echo Wave, which makes it way easier to stun monsters. Wind Pressure Negated and Health Boost Large won't always be useful, but are really good when the situation calls for them. This next build is a mid-master rank comfort build that trades some damage for utility. Nargacuga armor gives us Evade Window 5 and True Razor Sharp Spare Shot for easier dodging and sharpness management. We also get Stun Resist 3 from Acidic Lavinus braces. If you want to learn more about set building, I highly recommend my How to Build video, where I explain the basics of set building and how to build a set that's tailored to you. The link for that video is in the description. I hope you found this video helpful. The Monster Hunter Wilds beta is right around the corner, and I'll be making full moveset breakdowns for Hunting Horn and Longsword. If you're subscribed, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and happy hunting!